Got to talk about Darius Garland and the toe surgery he had yesterday. This Darius topic is brought to us by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you haven't heard of them, meet your new favorite financial partner. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local institution offering everything from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans with some of the lowest rates in Northeast Ohio. Their Cleveland branch is in Shaker Heights, which is one of 5 locations across the state, making it easy to find one near you. If you can't get to a branch, no problem. They make banking simple with digital banking. What sets them apart? They make banking personal and convenient. At Buckeye, their focus is you. Their core values: connect, simplify, and adapt, guide everything they do, bringing people together, cutting through the clutter, and they're innovative. To learn more, visit buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified.
I just finished a mini-series on Prime called The Better Sister, and Shaker Heights was referenced on that. Shout out to The Better Sister. Go ahead, Mike.
Yesterday, we got an update on the Darius Garland injury situation. He officially had surgery on his, they call it a great toe. It's a big toe. He had
by the way, how obnoxious is it to call it the great toe?
No, it's very
Have you ever referred to your big toe as the great toe?
No. Never heard of it.
I had never heard anyone in even personal or sports-related have it described as the great toe.
This is the greatest toe
It's
I
the
ever
great
had.
toe.
Of all the toes in America, this is the greatest toe.
It's an important toe.
According to reports, after their season ended, they wanted to give Darius a month to try and let it heal on its own.
Yeah.
He was still feeling some discomfort in the toe. That's when the team decided to send him down to Vanderbilt to get the surgery. It's why it took so long to get. It wasn't like he needed immediately after. They wanted to see if it would heal on its own. It clearly was not healing at the timeline they wanted. So now Darius is going to miss 4 to 5 months, according to the team press release, before he can resume basketball activities. That means he's probably not going to play, if you look at that 4 to 5 month timeline, until December in real games. So he's going to miss the first 10, 15-ish games of the season. A couple different areas and avenues I want to dive down on this. But Tyvis, you are wearing a Darius Garland jersey, so I'll start with you on this. Knowing he got surgery, does it change the way you view Darius and his quote-unquote toughness and willingness to play through injury, or does this not impact how you look at that situation whatsoever?
Obviously, I'm a Darius Garland apologist, and if Garrett was here, he wouldn't care about none of this. He really would. That is true. And it's unbelievable. I would look at him like he out of his mind. But no, I mean, I think when you look at it from a standpoint that he's got to get surgery on this, the fact that he gave you anything, and the one game where he had the 25. To think that he did that on a toe that's messed up, and then the next game I think he had like 10 or 12, and clearly you could tell he was discomfort. And what was the most impressive thing, although they lost the game, and it was like, I think the last game they was down by like double digits, he messed his foot up again, and you could clearly see it. He left the game, but he still came back into the game to finish the game, and I was like, all right, this is a dude that's, he realized, like, I just want to be out there with my brothers and stuff like that. So I actually gained a lot of respect for him for being able to do that. It's just unfortunate because the guy is so talented, but he's becoming the guy that you can't depend on in the playoffs because he keeps getting hurt, and then it's unfortunate. So obviously I understand why people are making the decisions that, Darius is one of the guys that they want to trade. I don't know if you can now with this injury for a guy that's going to miss, the first couple of weeks of the season. But I definitely look at him like to be able to grit through that, because a lot of people, we know people on the Cavs that last year said, I don't care what you do, I ain't going back out there. And so to see him still go out there and put effort, you gotta respect that.
Yeah, for me, it don't change anything for me because I never had an issue with Darius not playing. I never kind of brought his toughness into question because he wasn't out there. Toe injuries are for real. And when your toe is messed up, like your great toe, like you can't put no pressure on it.
First of all, you're not gonna say that. You gonna call it what it's called.
All in on the great toe right now.
It's the greatest toe I ever had, man. I'm telling you. But if your big toe is messed up, right, and it really, really hurts, I ain't had many injuries and things like that, but I have feet problems, right, and my toe hurts. And when it gets to hurting that bad, it's hard to walk. So imagine how hard it is to run, jump, cut, things like that. The fact that you was out there at all, giving any type of effort, I gotta respect that. Like Darius is somebody, he hear the noise and he knows his toughness is being called into question more often than not. And so, hell yeah, you got to, you know what I'm saying, you got to tuck it up and you got to get out there and you got to do whatever you can. It's unfortunate to Tyvus' point because now he's starting to become a little injury prone. It seemed like every year for the last 3 or 4 seasons, it's been some type of injury that's been associated with him that has derailed his season in some form or fashion, whether it be early on in the season, middle of the season, playoffs, whatever. I think it was, 3 seasons ago, he got hurt the very first game of the year, right? And then he missed some time, and his season is never the same. So it's just always something. It's like this dude has some bad luck. He is very talented. He is very skilled. You know, I know Mike has set the next part of it up. I don't really think it's going to hurt his trade value all like that, to be honest with you.
See, I do think it is. And to me, it's a disaster. We'll get to that in a minute.
But, like, overall, no, it don't change anything for me because I never really was questioning his toughness because toe injuries are more significant than what they sound.
Another change is for me, and I was questioning his toughness. And the only reason I was is because a couple of NBA champion former Cavaliers were they not?
They were?
Yeah, they were.
Okay, so I wasn't going to question his, want to get out on the court. But once Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye were dogging him, I was like, well, okay. I mean, I think it's fair game. Those guys know what the hell they're talking about. Unlike me, they've been through the situations that Darius Garland has been through. And just because he had surgery, nobody thought he wasn't hurt. We all knew he was hurt. But some guys can play through it, and some guys can't. Donovan Mitchell was hurt. There's a lot of guys who have surgery after the season, but they play through it until that point. So the fact that former Cavaliers champs, longtime NBA players, are criticizing him, to me, tells me all I have to know. And by the way, there's a new thing going on that I can't stand that relates to this. You know how we had everybody was throwing out the crying Jordan there for a while, which was getting really annoying. That everybody was like, then this became annoying. I didn't have that on my bingo card, whatever it is. People doing that for a while. Now the new thing that people are doing, driving me crazy on social media, is today's a tough day for the Darius Garland is soft crowd or whatever. No, it's not. Nothing changed. All of us, me and everybody else in the Darius Garland is soft crowd, nothing has changed. It was not a bad day. You're just an idiot. Now you're all right. I'm kidding. Go ahead, Mike.
So Jason and I did a Cavs show yesterday on this and how it impacted. So if you want some more stuff, you go listen to that.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm actually on both sides on this one.
Look at that.
And I am not in he's necessarily a soft player.
Yeah.
But this was all a pain tolerance thing.
That's
Him
right.
getting surgery a month after was because he was still feeling the pain.
Yes.
No one ever said Darius wasn't hurt. No one ever said Darius isn't tough. It's your teammates need you to be out there at a certain time. And I said this last night, I'll say it again. It goes back to Game 2. In Game 2, the Cavs ran out of gas at the very end, right? They had that crazy meltdown. They couldn't get the ball over half court in the final 48 seconds as Indiana made threes, got rebounds, all that stuff. Even if Darius gave you 10 minutes in that game, that's 3 minutes of rest for Donovan.
Yeah.
That's 2 minutes of rest for Sam, and maybe that's enough juice to have in their tanks to be able to break the press late in the game. I thought Darius should have played after they lost the first game. Jason and I were on the same page. Yeah. Don't play Darius till you lose. Once you lose, if it's simply pain tolerance, which this just reaffirms and confirms that report, then you got to get out there and play through some pain. Even if you're not at your most effective, you being out there helps and slides everyone back into their normal rotations. So when I saw this yesterday, I was like, I thought Darius should have played in Game 2. I think if Darius plays in Game 2, even if he doesn't play that well, him simply being out there is enough to push the Cavs over the top. Then it's a 1-1 series going back to Indiana. They probably lose that series anyway, but it's certainly a different complexion, and we feel a lot different about the series. So I'm with you, Bull. This doesn't change anything in how I look at Darius, but I do think it does impact his trade value. I don't think you're getting 100% of the same package now for a Darius Garland who won't be ready for the start of next season as you would have if this healed naturally and he would have been ready for training camp and so on.
Before we even get to the trade part, I guess, Mike, my only pushback to you would be, can we really say with 100% conviction that the reports is true? And I say that because we all on this panel know how the Cleveland Cavaliers has gone about putting information out there when it comes to injuries. And more often than not, it kind of made the players look worse than what it was because you find out later.
Because they were listing them as questionable?
Questionable. And you come to find out later, okay, like the injury was a little different. I ain't saying that it was not pain tolerance. I just find it hard to believe that you having surgery over pain tolerance. Like, who is finna, like, willingly go under the knife over quote-unquote pain tolerance? Like, I think his toe was more messed up than what we was led to believe. We'll probably never know that. But I was there.
Darius said it was pain.
But like, I was there game 5. You was there game 5. By the time we got to like the 4-minute mark of the fourth quarter, he couldn't walk. Like, he was like grimacing in pain up and down the court. I just don't know if it's just one of those, because if a month went past after the playoffs ended and he's still in that much pain, to me that's deeper than just pain tolerance.
What was it? Can you read the exact thing you read before, Mike? Just
what did I read?
What you read about his injury.
Oh, the great toe. Yeah, I'll pull up the press release. Hold on one sec.
Yeah.
Give me 1 sec.
I just want to hear the language they use to Earl's
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
This is from the Cavaliers directly.
Yeah.
Cleveland Cavaliers guard Darius Garland underwent successful surgery today to repair his great toe injury. The procedure was performed by Dr. Nicholas Strasser at Vanderbilt University in consultation with Cavaliers team Dr. James Rosneck and also Dr. Bob Anderson. His status will be updated as appropriate following a progression of treatment and rehabilitation in approximately 4 to 5 months. Garland is expected to make a full recovery and resume basketball activities by the start of training camp.
That's vague.
Yeah, it is kind of vague. They don't even really say exactly what the injury is.
It was a toe sprain.
Did it say toe sprain? They
didn't say it, but that's what it was. It was a toe sprain.
Okay.
Which, by the way, it's similar to turf toe. And Tyvis, you've talked about turf toe. Like, nobody was saying. Nobody's saying turf toe.
If it was turf toe, he ain't. My boy Dion sat out half the season. You ain't going out
similar,
there.
Similar.
You ain't going out there, dude. Especially as a DB, dude. And as a guy that literally cuts and dribbles and comes off it, like that's what his game is. He literally wasn't going to be the same. But as again, I will mark. I am a Darius Garland apologist, so therefore, and as far as the game 2 thing go, I hear what you're saying. At the end of the day, y'all are the NBA. If you just inbound the ball one time, the game's over. And on top of that, if we hit our free throws at the end of the game, we win that game too. So here's the other thing. We can throw the Darius thing in there, but the guys that play, they kind of fumbled that bag too, and we need to make sure that we point that responsibility to everybody too.
Maybe I'm dumb. But if Mike's saying it's a sprained toe and the Cavs said he had surgery to repair a toe, like maybe I'm dumb. You had surgery. Do you repair a sprain?
No.
Surgically? No. Okay then.
Yeah, I've never heard of anybody having surgery.
I also can't believe, and I told you this yesterday, Earl, 4 to 5 months for a toe seems crazy.
It do.
I've sprained things. Have you sprained? What have you sprained? Your ankle?
Oh man, ankle.
How many
wrist,
times?
Shoulder.
I sprained my neck twice.
You sprained your neck.
I was a kid.
Dang.
I think they're trying to feed us anything on the surface. Wait a minute. We're going to pick up and run with.
What did you do to do that?
We used to play tackle football with no equipment.
You put your head in there. You got to move. You got to move your head to the side and use your
I didn't
shoulder.
know what the hell I was doing. Nobody ever taught me proper football techniques.
Rugby style tackle.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was doing.
Earl, do you think this injury news impacts how the Cavs handle his situation in terms of should they trade him, should they not trade him?
They wasn't trading that man, no way.
I don't think it handles how they should handle it. It definitely will impact return on investment unless you find a team that loves Darius so much that's willing to wait on him to be 100% healthy, like a team that's overly convicted and, you know what, we Darius Garland away from getting to where we need to be. You catch a team like that that's in love with him, then you might be able to fleece him. But I think you still consider what's out there. You owe it to yourself and to your organization to listen to offers, to see if you can still get a quality offer despite him having this surgery. And if you can find a deal, I know Chris Fedor told me Saturday that Minnesota is a team that really liked Darius, a team that wanted to draft Darius on draft day. So you find somebody that's in love with him and that's willing to give you a pretty damn good return package, then cool. I just think it doesn't change how the Cavs should approach this. It will change the return on investment.
Earl mentioned that Chris mentioned Minnesota. Who would be looking? Did he mention anybody specifically or no?
No, he didn't.
Did we do that? Jaden McDaniels.
Oh, we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
I like.
Who was Jaden McDaniels? Or was somebody else?
There's a couple different packages.
The kid you liked, the draft pick from last year, isn't he Minnesota?
Dillingham. No, De Silva was with the Magic.
Oh, the Magic. Yeah.
I can't remember who he had. He had Jaden. Oh, you had Julius Randle, I think. Did you do Julius Randle and Darius and Jared for Jaden McDaniels and
No.
Randall?
The problem is if you're going to trade, like, if you're trading to a team like Minnesota who has aspirations to win an NBA title,
That's a good
are
place.
they going to want a new player who's not going to be able to play till January? I mean, maybe.
Man.
Whereas, like, maybe they now have to turn their attention to a team that's a younger team and not quite ready to win, and maybe they think Darius can be their lead guard on a building.
But who
where
would
they
you
wouldn't
want
care
off
as
for that
much.
team, though?
I don't know. I'm just, I'm just kind of spitballing here.
Can I give one more thought on Darius, and we'll move on to some guards?
Yeah, but I do think it's going to be a big factor, Mike. Do you think it's going to? Do you think I think he's less likely to get traded now.
100%.
Right.
I think if you're looking to trade Darius, we've talked about this at length.
Yeah.
You want to maximize the value for him.
Right, which you can't do now.
And now I think you're trading a Darius who has 90% value. And if you're going to move on from a guy who,
right,
for the right deal, I'm all for moving on from Darius. I think it's a lot easier to say trade Darius than it is to find that quote-unquote right deal. Now you're going to take off some of the value, which does absolutely make it harder to trade. And just like last week when we went over some of the Allen and DG trades, and DeJounte Murray came up, and Jason and I were like,
That's who it was. No, it was Dante DiVincenzo with Jaden.
DiVincenzo.
That's who it
Yes.
was.
Yeah.
But with DeJounte Murray, he's coming off the Achilles injury. If you're on the same team, it doesn't really matter. But for a point guard in particular, you want him to go through training camp. You want him to get those practices because they practice more in training camp, in the preseason, in the lead up to the season, than basically do the entire actual season. If Darius can't resume basketball activities for 4 to 5 months, 4 months from today, or 4 months from yesterday, is October 9th. 5 months is November 9th. The season starts on October 21st. Darius is most likely going to be out for that portion of it, and if you're bringing a point guard to another team, those are kind of the practices you want him to be at. So I do think it devalues him a little bit.
To me, it seems even more imperative now that they trade Jared Allen, right? Because
I believe the Cavs are stubborn and they ain't gonna trade no more. I just
I
got it
hope
in
you're
my
wrong,
gut
man.
feeling that they just like, you know what? Indiana Pacers was just hot this year, and that they can
they're
beat
in the finals.
Listen, they had more offensive rebounds than the Pacers.
I agree with Tyvis.
I just
Oh,
don't
you guys
think they're
killing
gonna
me.
do it.
think-
I'm sorry.
I listened to his press conference. He was 3 sentences in, and I was like, yep, he running it back. 3 sentences in, he was talking about the average age of the core four and what they accomplished this year and how, like these things take time in the NBA. That right there was like, no matter how much I think they should make a change, Kobe telling you what I'm telling you, he loved what he put together and he gonna see this thing through.
Mike, can you get me the garbage can? I think I have to throw up again. I can't do it. I
Well,
can't watch this
let
team.
me give you
I need
one-
new players.
Let me give you one unintentional benefit to this Darius thing.
Oh, boy.
You never
All right.
want guys to get hurt.
Cheer us
Ever.
up.
Todd
Todd
never want guys to
Jerome.
get hurt. Nope, not even that. However, we have all discussed, and I think I've been leading the campaign, that if the Cavs are going to take that next step, they have to make Evan Mobley more of a focal point on offense. How do you do that? Well, you have to force him the ball, bring his usage rate up, run stuff through him as opposed to make him the fulcrum, right? What better way to get real game reps at that bull than the start of a season where Darius may be out 15, 20 games?
Yeah.
And this is and Kenny Atkinson talked about from a defensive standpoint, I assume he feels the same way on offense. We can practice all we want, but we got to see it in the game. We're going to throw out a 2-3 zone, a 3-2 zone, a 1-3-1 against teams so we can look at the tape and figure out how we can tweak it for the playoffs. Well, how can you run an offense through Evan Mobley and get that tape so you can go back and fine-tune it for later in the season? Well, you do it in the first 20 games of the year when Darius isn't on the court, and then as Darius works his way back in, Darius figures out, okay, how do I play alongside this version of the Cavs offense? It's different than what we saw in 24-25.
Right.
It's the offense that I believe has the highest ceiling for them to win a championship, and then Darius figures out how to fit back into it, as opposed to having Evan trying to figure out how to get more involved while both Donovan and Darius have the ball as frequently as they do.
And to your point, if they do trade Jarrett, although these guys think obviously they're not, if they do, then not only now you're without both of those guys, and hopefully a better piece that fits with Evan Mobley if you do trade Jared Allen.
You know what?
That is a potential benefit of
You
this
know what the
situation.
piece is?
What's that?
You know what the missing piece is?
What?
Imani Bates. I'm doing it for G.
How did that go with G
I'm doing it for G.
I saw him tweeting about it.
He made his case.
I should have never sent him that clip.
Oh my God! I saw that. And I couldn't believe it.
Yo, Mike's point is compelling because Evan Mobley's usage rate do need to come up, and Evan should be more of a focal point. I know everybody keep deeming us as a core four, but I feel like the core of the Cavaliers is Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell, and those should be the guys that you should be focused on building around. Like when it comes to Evan Mobley and his personality and his playing style, I think a lot of people want him to be more demanding, more vocal and things like that. I think personally at this stage of his career, you asking him to be somebody that he's not. I think the best course of action is to flip Jared Allen for somebody who complements Evan Mobley as a person and as a player. And I think, well, now you ain't going to be able to do so with Darius, but I think the same thing with Darius. If you know your core is Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell, then you need to be able to flip these two guys for players that can complement your core players. And I don't think Kobe is going to do anything with the core four. So I guess for me, Tyvis, the next course of action is how can I make sure I got a playable bench? Because all I keep going back to is in that Indiana series, 5 guys came off the bench, or 5 guys that come to mind, 2 of them was decent, right? Sam Merrill was decent, and he's a
free agent.
And I think everybody can agree he played above expectation, right? DeAndre Hunter, he was okay, but we didn't get from him what we expected. Todd Jerome didn't show up. Isaac Okoro he didn't give you nothing. Dean Wade didn't give you nothing. And then Tristan Thompson, he's a veteran, but in a series where you needed an enforcer, you didn't even play him. And so if you're going to keep the core together, at least give us a playable bench.
Yeah, that would be good. The problem is how do they do that?
I'll be honest, I half heard what Earl said. We were trying to fix something back here.
Earl made the point that they need a better bench, and he's right. But
you get a better
because
bench
of the cap situation, I don't know how they improve it significantly, especially when Sam Merrill and Ty Jerome are free agents. It's not going to be easy for them to get a better bench, and you're 100% right. They need to have a better bench.
Jalen Tyson's the key to that. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but Jalen Tyson's the key to that.
I'm surprised they didn't give him any real chance in the playoffs.
When
all the other guys were struggling so badly.
Let me ask you a question.
Shoot.
Do you think Imani Bates and guy like Jalen Tyson, for example, do you think that they would be better developed right now if they play for like OKC or something like that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to say no with conviction, but
I mean, Tyson was a rookie and he did.
Tyson was a rookie. He played a decent bit. He started a couple games. Bates just. If Bates was on Charlotte right now, I think he could average 15 points. But it'd be 15 points in the context of we're losing by 30. I just don't think Bates is ready to play like high-level winning basketball. And look at OKC. Their first-round pick from 2 years ago has yet to make his NBA debut. They drafted A.J. Mitchell in the second round. He played 1 minute in the finals, didn't play in game 2. Like, rookies on good teams don't usually play. I don't think Tyson and his development was any different than how most teams develop late first-round picks.
The only time they play is if they're like elite prospects.
I was just curious. It was more so geared towards Imani Bates because he came up in conversation, and he'd be going into year 3 of his NBA career.
Does he have to sound like another deal?
Yeah, he's the Cavs can make him a restricted free agent if they want, or they can let him walk.
Can you imagine if he goes somewhere else and has success? Can you imagine?
You know what that's gonna be like? If the Browns never let Shedeur Sanders play and he went somewhere else and ball, it's the same thing.